All praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High, God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to you. In the name of Jesus, this is your brother Elisha Israel of the household of faith, and I count it truly a blessing each and every time that I can come before you to preach the word of God, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. All right, brothers and sisters, I want to get right into today's subject, and that is really me thinking about, some of the conversation that was going on yesterday, and, the point that I was trying to make in regard to, now it was kind of a different topic, but people got to talking about, women being evil and all this. And my point was that, listen, and, tempting men, I said, listen, men and women are evil. But if you, and it could work both ways, but if you want to talk about that or touch upon that, what you need to do is take the lesson from the Bible in those situations. And the lesson in the Bible is simply not to give your strength to women. As a man, listen, men, see, one of the main problems that men have, and one of the main things that women deal with from men is that men don't know their position. So if they don't know their position, they don't actually understand what they should do. You are the leader in the home. Now, women are being propelled into particular positions, right? And everything you see, particularly in the Western world, is out of order. It's just what it is. The Bible tells you what the order should be. And with that order, and if you are following what thus saith the Lord, you should understand how to function regardless of how a woman is. And the failure for a man to do that puts everybody at risk. It puts you at risk. It puts the woman at risk. And it puts the children at risk. Put the whole household at risk. Because men don't know their position. They don't know what they are. What you are is a man. Okay, so that means the buck stops with you. That means ain't nobody else to look to see, what I'm gonna do. You can't look to your wife or what I'm gonna do. Or get her around here. You take the reins. We've continually told that's how it should be in American society, right? No, you a man. You shouldn't fear nothing but God, and you should be the one who is in the leadership position. And as leader, you shouldn't let nothing faze you. Nobody. Especially when it comes to serving God. You can't blame the woman because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Because you're going to see what being a man is about. And let's look at some examples and look at what the Bible tells us concerning this. So let's start off in Proverbs 31. And let's see some wisdom here that's given. Okay, so here in Proverbs 31:3, it says, give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroy kings. Okay, so then he goes on what is not good for kings to do. See, men in powerful positions, it's real easy to have access to a lot of things. In this particular case, in the context of what he's saying. All right, so you can have all the best luxuries and all access to women and different things like that. He said, don't give your strength to women, though. That's what he's telling him. He tells him, give not that strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyed kings. Let's go to Genesis, the 3rd chapter. Okay, because again, when you don't understand your role fully, or you don't execute your role, you put everybody at jeopardy. And here we see the first example of this, Genesis, the 3rd chapter. Now we understand that when God, he formed Adam, he formed him first. And he extracted the woman from the man because he said, I will make a helpmeet for him. He didn't say I was going to make his boss. He didn't say, I'm gonna give you the one in which you should listen to for spiritual direction. He didn't say none of that. He said, I'm gonna make a helpmeet, right? And he told him specifically what to do. He told him what he should do. He didn't say, you do this unless your wife say differently. See, so you can't go and look to her because of your shortcomings. Man, he like the brother, these women always trying to tell why he get the real tempters. That's not fair. No, you can't blame her. You sound like Adam. This is Genesis, the 3rd chapter. I'm gonna pick it up at verse 11. Because here we understand that he told him, don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? And Eve knew not to, but she went to commune with Satan and then gave him to her husband and he started communing with Satan. That's what was going on. She was deceived. But then it says here in Genesis 3rd chapter, in verse 10, verse 9, it said, and the Lord God called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou was naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? So now it's like, wait a minute, you broke my commandment. So there's consequences for the breaking of commandment. And the breaking of this commandment was the consequences that death would enter into the world. And peace to everybody that's listening. So death would enter into the world. Why? Because Adam sinned. But wait a minute. What did he say? Let's listen to what he said. And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave of me of the tree and I did eat. Right? Now he goes on next to talk to the woman. And she said, he said, and the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me and I did eat. Right? So she was deceived. But it didn't stop. You can't look to her and then as if the punishment for God is not coming. So now this is Genesis. We're sticking in Genesis 3. And he gives punishment. In verse 19, he said, in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground. For out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. And we've been dying ever since as a species. Why? Because the one who was in charge, he didn't do what he was supposed to do, and he followed her. But again, you can't blame her. You can't blame her. You have to look to yourself. Let's go to First Timothy, because I said that she was deceived. Let's go to, and she even acknowledged it. First Timothy 2 and verse 14. Actually, I want to pick it up at verse. I'll pick it up at verse 11. Now he's talking about in the church, right? So it says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer, and that was part of the, because if you look at what was given as far as her punishment, Genesis, the 3rd chapter, and we're going to pick it up in verse 16. He said unto the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, and sorrow shalt thou bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Right? So that was part of that. So he said, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor suffer authority over the man, but to be in silence. Then he tells you why. He goes all the way here. Paul goes all the way back to Adam and Eve. He says, for Adam was first formed, then Eve. Like I said. See, you the man. You don't even realize what you are. You tell, man, what's she doing that? You ain't nobody to look to, brother, but God. You can't look around. What we gonna do? No, Negro, just you. You the one. You the one. And when you don't do what you're supposed to do, whether it be as far as provide for your household or whether it be for spiritual matters, everybody's at risk. See, it's up to you. So you can't turn and say, well, she said this, so I did this. No, you got to stand on your square. So he said, but I suffer not a woman to teach. And that's the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems, if not the biggest, as far as society goes. It's men not knowing what they're supposed to be doing right now. Crises, have a clue of what they're supposed to be doing, and then want to look to women. If you're looking at women and where they're at right now, what they're not for, whatever you think, it's on us. It's on men. Man, these women don't know. They don't know. You the problem, though. Yeah, they could be doing that, but if you was playing your position. So it said, but I suffer not a woman to teach nor suffer over the authority of a man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then even Adam was not deceived. But the woman being deceived was in a transgression. So he knew better. Now she is fooled, right? But you the CEO, so to speak. You the one that's supposed to be in charge. But so he could have said all that straight. But she She was actually deceived, and he knew better. So if one person is really fooled, another person knew better, go along with anyway. He goes along anyway. You know what that's called? That's called weakness. Weakness. Trying to please your wife in some form of fashion. Find her so she will find you pleasing. You need, as a man, you need to understand, especially you talking about a godly man, one that's walking with God. You have to understand it's not about you pleasing your wife. It's not about you pleasing your children. It's about you doing the righteous thing. Because your wife could be out of pocket. You have to make sure. You have to make sure you're on the right path. You can't look to her and blame her. Let's go to Job, because here Job, and I use this example all the time, but here Job shows you what you should do. Job 2 and verse 9, because this after he lost all his kids, he lost his health, he lost his wealth, and then it says, after he's sitting in the dust, right? He's got boils, he's covered in boils, and his wife come to him and said, then said his wife, this is Job 2 and 9, then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. So she's sending him off, right? To sin against God. Same thing Eve did, but understand, Adam didn't have to do nothing. He not in subjection to the woman. He didn't have to do nothing. Here, Job, she gave him what to do. He told her, but he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaking. That's what Adam should have did. Come on, get some of this fruit, Adam. Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaking. What, shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? And all this did not Job sin with his lips. See, it's not about what she was saying. Again, if you the man, you the man. Period. And as the man, you determine in what direction you go. The woman don't. I don't care what I don't even care what she talking about. I don't even care if she ain't with your program. Just stand on your square. What's she gonna do? She gonna move you. If you weak, she gonna move you to and fro. She gonna be throwing you all around like a rag doll. She gonna be abusing you. I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about just your position of authority. See, at a certain point, you have to exhibit wisdom and understanding and leadership as a man. You can't just be, looking to her, blaming her. Joshua, the 24th chapter and verse, I want to pick it up at verse. I just want to read some that even almost half verse. Joshua 24, verse 15, just what Joshua said and pertaining to his household, right? Because he's charging Israel not to serve the other gods that their forefathers did when they were in Ur the Chaldees, right before they crossed over the Euphrates River. Don't serve the gods of the land in whom they were dwelling at that moment, right? He says, and if it seems, verse 15, Joshua 24, 15, and if it seems evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve. So he charges them to make a decision. He tells them, no, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. He didn't ask his wife, yeah, we're going to do whatever my wife said. He didn't do that. He said, we're going to serve the Lord. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Because anything else is weakness. Let's go to, and just to show you how man, again, not realizing in totality what you are, but only maximizing one aspect of you. Like when you look at men, you can say, okay, well, this man has a lot of intellect, or he's extremely strong, or whatever it is, he has these capabilities. But when it comes to women, all that could be null and void. Why? Because you give your strength to women. We're gonna see some prime examples of this and how it leads to the ultimate downfall. Judges this. Let's go to the 14th chapter. We're gonna look at Samson. Now, this will show you how strong Samson was when the Spirit of God came upon him. This is Judges, the 14th chapter. We want to pick it up at verse. I'm going to pick it up at verse 5. It says, Judges 14:5, it says, then went Samson down and his father and his mother to Timnath and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. So now there's a lion coming against a man, Samson. Now, it says, just to show you how strong he was, because you can read about him slaying men, but he took this lion, it said, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him, meaning he tore him as he would have rent a kid. Like he tore him like it was a sheep or something. Then he said, and he had nothing in his hand, but he told not his father or his mother what he had done. Now, if this was a lion could get up, a male lion could be like 400 plus pounds. So he tore this lion like it's so you're not talking about some weak man, physically though. But when it came to women, he was weak and could be moved. Don't give your strength to women. This is 16. Judges 16. And we'll pick it up at verse 1. Judges 16 and verse 1. It said, then went Samson to Gaza and saw there an harlot and went in unto her. See, that's his first weakness. Right? So the women are his weakness. That's what he's dealing with. He dealing with the so you see other instances where he wanted a woman from another nation. You see here he dealing with a harlot, right? So you got all that strength, but that's your weakness. Women. So it says, and it was told the Gazites, saying, Samson has come hither, and they compassed him and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying, in the morning when it is day, we shall kill him. And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city and the two posts, and went away with him, barring all. So he just picked it all up. That's how strong this man is. And put them upon his shoulders and carried them up to the top of the hill that is before Hebron. And he came to pass afterward that he loved the woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. Okay, the name means delicate, right? But let's see her actual character. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and said, now you have to understand, he dealing in prostitutes, right? But he see that Delilah, he loves her. He's just looking at, it seems like he's just looking at her outward appearance, because it couldn't possibly be her character. Because let's see this here. It says, and the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and said unto her, entice him and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. So now they offered her money. They offered her money. So is she gonna be loyal? No, she wasn't loyal. So this show you something. He didn't love her because of the person she was, because she didn't seem like a very good person. So what was it? He's being captivated by the outward appearance. Because what is this? Oh, I love this woman. For what? If she would do this to you, what pulled you in? Her great character? Or was it what she looked like? That's one of the main things men do. When you talk, like the brother was talking about giving your strength, why he put the woman in this position. He's talking about the Lord ain't fair. No, you just ain't doing what you're supposed to do. If you understand as a man, if you could get past men, you see oftentimes men are manipulated, as we see here, manipulation. Men are manipulated by women on occasion, and it go both ways. But understand what I'm talking specifically for men. Men are manipulated because of what a woman look like. But the Bible say beauty is vain, right? If you can get past that's not your. You not gonna be swayed or dismayed to do something contrary to God because you're trying to please some woman. Don't be a fool. So now all your strength out as a man is null and void, because you and that's what you see all the time. And that's why you see it oftentimes. That's what's promoted in American society, in the period, but definitely in the Western world, right? Beauty is everything. So now you can be manipulated as a man to give up all your money. I'm just giving an example. Give up all your money because of what some woman look like. You are a fool. right? So now she paid him to sell out her love, the one that loved her, which is Samson. Think about how many people you know do all these kind of things for women who aren't worth a quarter when it comes to character. Now the sister that's worth her weight in gold as a righteous sister, she might not be in your opinion as attractive on the outside. So you ain't thinking about her. You want the woman that look a certain way with all the attitude, with all the terrible characteristics, with all the lack of intelligence. You want to deal with her because she look good, she talk crazy, disrespect you, and you take it because he's stronger than you, because she can whoop you. No, because you've been manipulated. Because you worried about the outward appearance, and you done gave, and your position as a man, you done gave all that up, right? To be swayed, to move back and forth like waves in the ocean by a woman who doesn't have an ounce of sense. This not me talking about all women. This just in certain situations. And men are foolish when they do this. How in the world, if you think about it, how in the world do you work just on a basic level? You see this all the time. Men build financial or business empires. Men work blood, sweat, and tears in a sport to give it all, half of what they have to an Instagram model, to somebody that's been twirling on a pole. What's wrong with you? So now you got this great strong man that's about to be done in by this woman who's getting some ducats for it. So it said, and Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. So now she goes straight to work. And Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 green whips that were never dried, then shall I be weak and be as another man. Okay? So then the Philistines brought her that. She did it, and they came upon him, and he whooped them. But then he goes about, it happens again. He said, hey, tie me up with new ropes. So she tied him up with new ropes. What's going on in your mind? You weak for this woman. You weak for this woman. I'm going to tell you something. As a man, if a woman tells you to do any and everything, especially, well, just in general, and if it's wrong, she telling you to do anything and everything, and you doing it, she don't respect you. She don't respect you. She might not tell you that. Her actions will tell you that. She might not say the words, I don't respect you. She don't respect you. But listen, when you a man of God, when you serving God, as a man, you can't be moved by what nobody's saying. Mama, daddy, child, employer, whoever. Whoever, powers that be, you can't be moved by that. You a man. Be a man. Don't get your strength over. Know your position. You're the one that's built to have that position. So now this man she ends up showing him, or he ends up showing her. So it said he told her, verse 17, that he told her all his heart and said unto her that there hath not come a razor upon mine hair, if I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. Right? You be weak like any other man. But now he talking about physically. But he'll be weak physically, because right now he weak, period, for this woman. And that's not a physical weakness, but it compromises you. So he said, if I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. He didn't realize he was weak, even in all his physical strength. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, come up this once, for he has showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knee like he's some baby. Come on, go sleep on me. And she done shaved the man's locks. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head, and she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. Now she afflicted him, and strength went from him. Then it says, and she said, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he woke out of his sleep and said, I will go out as at other times before and shake myself. And he wished not that the Lord was departed from him. But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes. So now they done poked this man's eyes out like they did, Zedekiah. Then it says, and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. Okay, so now he's brought to the lowest of the low. He's brought down to the lowest of the low. Why? Because he was weak. Because he was weak. Let's go to don't give your strength unto women. This is let's go to 1 Kings. Let's see another example of this. 1 Kings, and see the example of Solomon. 1 Kings, you want to pick it up in 1 Kings 4, because here we'll see something about Solomon that made him unique in this regard. This is 1 Kings, the 29th chapter. And I want to pick it up at, 1 Kings, the 4th chapter and the 29th verse. 1 Kings 4 and chapter 4 and verse 29. 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 29. Because let's see what God gave Solomon, just so we know before we get into how he became weak. Now, we just read, physically speaking, the strongest man in the scriptures, Samson. Now, let's look at Solomon and see what was given to him. We saw he was weak. We saw Solomon was weak. Samson was weak for a woman, and it ended up he got captured by the Philistines with his, and they gouged out his eyes. Okay. So this is 1 Kings 4, verse 29. It says, and God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding exceeding much, and largeness of heart, even as the sand that is on the seashore. Okay. Then it said, and Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the east country and all the wisdom of Egypt. Okay, so his wisdom exceeded all these people. Because why? Because it came from the Lord. It was exceeding much. Right? It said, and the large of his heart, even as the sand that is on the seashore. So he didn't have like wisdom like a regular man or even a wise man. He was much wiser than them. He said, for he was wiser than all men, than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, and Chalcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahol. And his fame was in all nations round about. And he spake 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. Okay, so all right, so I see the comments getting kind of, okay, so y'all hold off on the comments for a second, because he wasn't a Mac. He wasn't a Mac. He wasn't a pimp. Okay, so because those terms, those are real, actual terms. Okay, and it's a Mac is specific. A specific thing that a Mac does is a specific thing that a pimp does. A specific thing that a gigolo does. He was none of those things. But let's see. Let's go to first, just so we understand. 1 Kings 11. 1 Kings 11 and verse 1. 1 King, again, hold off again. Yeah, hold off on the comments. So it said, but King Solomon loved many strange women. Now, was he in love with all these women like, like these Negroes, oh, you my rib and all this? No, he had all kind of women. It said, but King Solomon loved many strange women together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their God. Solomon clave unto these in love. So these specific nations that you read about in Deuteronomy the 7th chapter, when he's sending the children of Israel into the land, he tells them, don't deal with them. Don't deal with them, because they'll turn you from serving your God. These specific nations, he was dealing with these women. It says, so it says, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their God. Solomon clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. So he had 1,000 wives. Now, what he did was he multiplied wives unto himself, because we understand that the culture of the Israelites and the Eastern world was polygynous. It was not uncommon for men to have more than one wife. But we read in the Torah two things. We read, one, how you should deal if you have more than one wife, right? Because in the Western world, it's almost seen as, it's not almost, it's seen as immoral, but that's not what the Bible's telling you. Even the children of Israel was started by one man and four women. Okay, so it tells you how to deal with your wife, specifically if the one who was less favored had the firstborn child, and what you could not do, and giving the inheritance of the firstborn son to the wife that was more favored, you couldn't do that. Right, but it also tells you that a king should not multiply wives unto himself. What is multiplying wives unto himself? So the average man can have more than one wife, and then the king couldn't. No, it's talking about this right here. When you got 700 wives and 300 concubines, you got 1,000 wives. That's called a harem. Okay, you see people like monarchs, or even monarchs in various countries. The name of the Mongolian one escapes me right now. I keep thinking of Attila the Hun, but it's not Attila the Hun. It's Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, it says that a vast majority of or a large portion of the Chinese population can, when you look at their DNA, it can be traced back to Genghis Khan. Why? Because he has so many women. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So this is just a harem. So you got 1,000 wives, that's a harem. And he says, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart or his mind. Right? But we just read that he was wiser than all men on the earth. All these men of the earth, the wise men of the earth. Then it says, what came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, and was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ishtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. So then did Solomon build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. Now that's one of the gods that the children of Israel they sacrificing their kids unto Molech. And likewise did he for all his strange wives. Strange means foreign, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto other gods. What happened to Solomon? He became weak. Weak how? Now weak mentally, because with all the strength that Solomon had, that Samson had, he got weak for this woman. That was it. Solomon got weak in his old age for these women. He got weak for these women, and these women turned his heart from serving the true and living God. See, you can't let no woman turn your heart from serving the true and living God. But that's what he did. And what happened? The kingdom was rent in two. Right? So you had the southern and the northern kingdom. His seed was able to, when he died, his Rehoboam was able to only have Judah, basically Judah and Benjamin, and the 10 tribes went to Jeroboam, the adversary. But now let's go to let's see. I want to go to 1 Kings. I'll stay in 1 Kings, the 2nd chapter, because what he should have done is been strong. And we see this charge that David, like I said, his heart wasn't perfect as David, his father. But before David died, he gave him a charge, brothers and sisters. Let's see what that charge was. And in this charge, we can understand what's talking about giving your strength to women. 1 Kings 2 and verse 1, it says, now the days of David drew nigh that he should die. And he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong. He said, be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. Right? So be strong. Right? Joshua got the same, charge, similar. Right? You read it in Joshua 1. Be strong. Meaning, be a man. But understand what he's saying to him. And he's saying, keep the charge of the Lord thy God. To walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. That the Lord may continue with his word which he spake concerning me, saying, if thy children take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth with all their heart and with all their soul, there shall not fail thee, said he, a man on the throne of Israel. That's all he had to do. Right? So he's king, he's telling them this. But brothers and sisters, brothers in particular, be a man, be strong, and don't be moved, and don't give your strength over to women. Right? Let's go to one more place. This is in the book of Esther. Book of Esther. And we want to pick it up at chapter 1. Because ultimately, brothers and sisters, everything is out of course, right? And when I say everything is out of course, again, men are not understanding what they are, what they should be, and therefore they don't understand their actual position. So they occupy the position of woman and child. This is Esther 1. And let's see something that happened here. Esther 1, we're going to pick it up in chapter 10. It said on the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Nehum, Biztha, Habona, Bigtha, and Abitha, Zethar, and Carcas, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus, the king. Now this is the king, right? So now he's making merry. Now he's got these 7 chamberlains, and he's gonna call for his queen. It says to bring Vashti, the queen, before the king with a crown royal, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look upon. Again, everybody worried about beauty, right? The verse 12, it said, but the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Now she didn't embarrass them. Basically, he said, come, my wife's beautiful. Let me show you my wife. She's beautiful. And then she called and she like, man, I ain't coming. Now, this ain't some man that work, and nothing wrong with working at the post office, having a regular job. This is not a man with a regular job. This is the man who is king. He's king over an empire, right? Over a province, over an area, and his queen don't listen to him. Now, if his queen don't listen to him, why in the world should his subjects listen to him? If his wife ain't in subjection to him, how are you going to expect your subjects to be in subjection to you? And let's keep reading. So it says, so he was enraged, right? Verse 13, then the king said to the wise men which knew the times, for so was the king's manner to all that knew law and judgment. So now he's going to men of wisdom to find out how he handled his matter. So it says, and the next unto him was Kashina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Medes, Marsena, and Nimukan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law, because she have not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains? And Nimukan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen have not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. Again, it extended beyond just him. because he was the head of an empire. So it said, for this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women. So the word's going to get out that she's done this. And it says, so that they shall despise their husbands. They're going to look upon them with contempt. That's what it's saying. They shall despise their husbands in their eyes when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. So she said, why am I listening to my husband? So she goes, why am I listening to Tyrone? Vashti don't have to listen to her husband. And she the queen and he king. Why I got to listen to you? Right? Now I said, likewise, now see, it tells you something that he had to have a council to figure this, get the wise men together to figure this out. This seemed like a no-brainer to me. But likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. He said, man, you gonna put everything out of order. He said, if it please the king, let there be a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. Okay? So that's another thing. So first thing, and then it says, and when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor both to great and small. And the same pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. Because one thing he could have did, he could have been weak and folded here, right? And could have said, well, but Vashti's so fine though. She done disrespected you and put your man. When people, especially you're a king, people sense weakness. Man, they coming for your throat. But no, he said that sounds good, and she was removed from that particular position. But so it shows you. So it says, and when the king's decree shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor both to great and small. But don't move off your square because of some woman being beautiful. He used to see an example of that. And then another one who was worthy was in that position, as far as women goes. So as a man, that's just to show you how things should be in order. But as a man, you can't blame nobody else for your shortcomings. You certainly can't blame your wife. You can't blame women. You have to ultimately do what you're supposed to do as a man. And with that, brothers and sisters, it's always my prayer that you will edify.